Hi all, welcome back to this week's Luthercast, where we're going through Luther's Catechism and examining his understanding of the Ten Commandments and their role for the Christian life. This week we're looking at the third commandment, and I encourage you to look back to the other posts simply just to catch up, or if you want to go back and look for mistakes and find places where conversation can be had, that'd be very much welcome. Leave a comment in the comment section below. So the third commandment is you are to hallow the day of rest and keep it holy. So what is this? Let's go to Luther. He says we are to fear and we are to love God so that we do not despise preaching or God's word, but instead keep that word holy and gladly hear and learn it. So in a world where we're constantly moving, this commandment is God telling us to stop. God is telling us to take a moment for ourselves for a couple reasons. One, just because we need it, and two, so that we can be diligent and not only learn from God's word, but also put it into action as well. And this commandment points to something bigger as well, but these two things, the practical application and then the more kind of ethereal one. So Luther points out that this commandment was given to the Jews alone, and it was given so that they could rest from the hard work and so that they might be refreshed. Luther finds nothing wrong with rest. I mean, it's commanded by God, but he believes that the Jews misrepresent this commandment and that it could only be fulfilled by refraining from work of any kind. Luther, he points out that this isn't the point of the commandment. The issue isn't whether or not we should take a day to do absolutely nothing, but the point is that our bodies simply need rest, or at least this is the Lutheran interpretation. Luther would say Christian interpretation too. But this commandment is more than this. If you're reading along in the Book of Concord, it's on page 397. It's the 84th paragraph. Luther writes, "Second, in most, we observe them so that people will have time and opportunity on such days of rest, which otherwise would not be available, to attend worship services, that is, so that they may assemble to hear and discuss God's word, and then offer praise, song, and prayer to God." So Luther believes that the Christian life isn't a life of worship that exists outside of the few hours on Sunday morning. He believes that it's a daily activity. It's our lives. It's everything that we do. So he goes into more detail concerning this daily activity. But there's another theme lurking behind the surface here. And it's all well and good that God commands us to take time for rest, but there are many things that distract us from taking this rest, which I'm sure you're all quite aware of. Being a student, I fully understand these distractions. It's with these distractions that we're actually pointed back to God, though. And this happens when we reread the commandment in light of what Luther has said. Luther tells us that following the day of rest actually means keeping it holy. But the day's holiness it's not contingent on whether or not we spend it doing something holy or unholy. It doesn't depend on what we do. What matters is that God created the day holy, and it's God's gift for us. And if this weren't already amazing enough that God sets this aside for us and gives us this gift, there's a greater gift attached to this gift. For it helps us focus on the commandments that came before, the first and the second, because it keeps God in God's rightful place, that is, above all things and in the front of our minds. And this is done when we hear God's word and when God's word is proclaimed. So all of this to say, and this is Luther here, he says, God's word is the treasure that makes everything holy. By it all the saints themselves are made holy. Whether times God's word is taught, preached, heard, read, or pondered, there is a person, the day, and the work is hallowed. not on account of the external word, on account of the word that makes all saints. So that's a quick exhibition of the third commandment and Luther's explanation. I invite you to leave comments below, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. God bless.